Hello everyone, this is Chad from Vintage Retrospect. Launch and Learns are back! Yes, finally! And you voted. You guys wanted the X17 sounding rocket. Yes, the X17 you chose over the X15 and the X1 rocket plane. I'm glad you guys chose this because the X17 is a sounding rocket a lot of people don't know about. And it's 3 stages, not just 2. We're gonna get started right away here. We're gonna hop into Kerbal Space Program 2 to build this thing and learn about it at the same time. We're sitting inside the vehicle assembly building. I already have a probe core sitting out here for us. The X17 was developed by the Lockheed Rocket Corporation. And as I said before, this thing has 3 solid stages. I'm going to go ahead and build out the fairing nose cone for this. The very interesting thing about the X17 is the reason they built this rocket was to test the very first re-entry heating and aerodynamic testing of ballistic missiles, especially during nuclear missile testing. They wanted to find out what would happen when rockets came back through the Earth's atmosphere. This was the first rocket to actually test these types of questions that engineers have had. Now, we're going to be building kind of backwards here. The first stage of the rocket, it's a Thiokol Sargent solid motor. So I'm going to just go ahead and put one of these off to the side, which will be using the medium part, but you'll see why in a second. So we're going to be building this rocket from 3rd stage, 2nd stage, and 1st stage. The 3rd stage was powered by a Thiokol Recruit solid motor, which had around 36,000 pounds of thrust. So in the vehicle assembly building menu, we're going to choose this one right here. And I'll have the photo off to the side to show what the real one looks like as I'm building this. Of course, we're going to need to separate the stages here. The 2nd stage actually used a cluster of 3 Thiokol XM19 Recruit solid motors, and they were about 33,900 pounds of thrust. Now the game of course doesn't have clusters of solids, so what I'm going to do is do one of these small solid boosters right here. Actually, it's a bit too long. There we go. The 1st stage actually is a little bit larger, so it does taper out. We're going to go ahead and add another decoupler below that 2nd stage. But then we need to add an adapter so we can change the size. So this little medium adapter here will help do the job. And we've got our 1st stage plopped down, which of course is the Thiokol XM20 Sargent solid rocket motor. This thing is ready to go, but wait. One thing we did forget is the thin stabilizers. We're going to put 4 of those in there. I'm going to try to make them more accurate to what the picture has. So we're going to change the angle a little bit and the root length. And of course, again, this rocket was mainly to test re-entry. And they actually ended up finding out that the best nose cone shape was a blunt shape. I think this looks good. I'm going to go ahead and combine the decoupling with the solid stage separation so there's no delay. So we're going to combine the stages just like that. Gonna head over to the launch pad and get this thing going. Now with these fins, we're gonna be able to have some control authority, some steering. However, I think the game's solids include a little bit of thrust vectoring. However, that's probably not going to be the control that I want. So, without any further ado, we are lifting off. All right. So a little bit more about this rocket. After they've flown this rocket, they basically started choosing nose cone shapes and sizes that they just started using on the Atlas and Titan ICBM rockets. The first launch of the X17 was in 1955. If you've seen my launch and learns before, I'm not really good at flying rockets. So when I do these gravity turns, that's usually when things go wrong. Also, again, this is not an orbital class booster. So if I end up getting to orbit with this thing, that's just going to be a bonus. Typically, this rocket has a performance of about 135, 140 mile range. All right, we are 32,000 kilometers above ground. It is safe to start steering the rocket really hard because we are out of the atmosphere. We no longer have control authority on the fins, so the built-in thrust vectoring of the solids have taken over. Okay, that should work right there. Oh yeah. Oh no, we're still going down. I don't think there's any vectoring with these things. While this is going, the drink of the night is a Miller Lite. Comment below what your favorite gaming drink is. I'm actually curious to know. So as we have absolute no control over this rocket, we are of course going to be able to test the re-entry to see what happens to the nose cone. We'll definitely be able to gather some good data from that. And the second stage has extinguished, which would have been the Thiokol XM19 solid motors, which were in a cluster of 3. And then I cannot stage because I made one critical mistake. Either it's no electricity and or I didn't put a communications antenna. So that would place this rocket in orbit anyways, so that doesn't matter. Which would actually conclude the video. Thank you everyone for sticking with me with this launch and learn of the X17 rocket. I look forward to making a couple more of these in the next few months. So with that said, I will see you guys out on the launch pad.